Good evening, viewers. You're watching To The Point. Let's begin with a cliche. Humanity died in Ujjain. There are so many more that one can use. But one thing is for sure, that as a collective, India, every now and then, every few days, because a case comes every few days, as a collective, we cross that threshold of being inhuman. In this case, what you see on your television screen, she's a 12-year-old child. A 12-year-old child, let that sink in. Semi-naked, bleeding, leaving a trail of blood behind her. Walking on the streets of Madhya Pradesh's Ujjain, this minor child was brutally raped and dumped. In visuals captured on CCTV cameras, this little child is seen walking in a residential area. A rag barely covers her. She leaves a trail of blood. She begs anyone that she can see to help her, take her to the hospital. What do, viewers? We turn our back on her. Some take videos, the others shoo her. Yes, there was a man in this video who actually shooed her. Until and unless she met a good soul in the form of a priest of an ashram who ran to her, covered her in a blanket and rushed her to the hospital. Take a look at this report.
A 12-year-old child, semi-naked, partly covered with a small piece of cloth stained with blood, walking the streets of Ujjain on Monday, knocking on doors, begging for help. Her pleas go unheeded as many shoo her away. The video clip has shaken Madhya Pradesh and the entire country. This little child was finally taken to a hospital by a priest where tests confirmed that she was raped.
उज्जैन जिले में महाकाल थाना अंतर्गत एक प्रकरण कायम हुआ है अज्ञात लोगों के विरुद्ध, जिसमें दुष्कर्म की बात सामने आई है, जिसकी पुष्टि मेडिकल के द्वारा की गई है। इसमें बच्ची की हालत नाजुक होने से उसको इंदौर रेफ़र किया गया था और जो भी बेस्ट ट्रीटमेंट है उसको वहाँ पे अवेलेबल कराया गया था। इसमें एक बड़ी टीम SIT गठित की गई है और लगातार सभी जगह पे इसको हम लोग ट्रैक कर रहे हैं।
The rape survivor's condition is serious. She was shifted to Indore on Tuesday for further medical treatment. A special investigation team has been formed to probe the case.
जनता से भी यही अपील है, किसी को भी इसके बारे में कोई भी जानकारी हो तो पुलिस को तुरंत बताएं।
State Congress Chief Kamal Nath has demanded that the victim be given financial assistance of 1 crore rupees. The Congress is targeting the Shivraj Singh Chauhan government over this rape in poll-bound Madhya Pradesh.
मैंने डिटेल मंगाया है, SP से अभी बात हुई है, पूरा डिटेल आ रहा है।
दुर्भाग्य से इस प्रदेश के गृह मंत्री नरोत्तम मिश्रा एक ऐसे व्यक्ति हैं जिन्हें हीरोइन के छोटे कपड़े तो पता हैं, जिन्हें हॉलीवुड के बॉलीवुड के गानों की जानकारी तो है, पर जब एक 12 साल की अबोध बालिका से अनाचार हो और 8-8, 10-10 घंटे तक वो सड़क पर निर्वस्त्र खून बहता हुआ वो घूमती रहे तो वो जानकारी मंगवा रहे हैं।
Women's safety is an issue in Madhya Pradesh, which goes to the elections later this year. The state recorded 6,462 rapes in 2021, the highest in the country, according to the National Crime Records Bureau.
The 12-year-old girl who was raped in Ujjain walked without clothes for several kilometers seeking help before some sadhus spotted her and gave her clothes. Police have now registered a case at the Mahakal Lok police station and efforts are on to identify and reach the perpetrators of this heinous crime. In Bhopal, Hemendra Sharma for India Today.
Let's immediately cut across to my colleague Hemendra, who's been tracking the story very closely. Hemendra, has there been any leads on what really happened to this poor 12-year-old child?
Well, this 12-year-old girl was first spotted by a sadhu 12 kilometers on the Indore-Ujjain highway, and before that she had begged for help. That came out from the CCTV footage that was accessed later. But at that point in time, the sadhu tried to ask from her what her name was, what happened with her. She could not disclose that. She was in a state of trauma. Thereafter, he called the police, and thereafter she was sent to the police, and the police took her to a hospital, and there they also donated blood, and it was found that she had been raped. Later, CCTV footage has been accessed in it, which was found that this victim, 12-year-old girl, she walked for several kilometers without clothes, begging for help, and she was shooed away by people. Police have said that they have tried to identify the accused. One person has been arrested. He has been reached through the CCTV footage that has been accessed by the police. It could be possibly a case of gang rape as well. A case of rape has so far been registered in the Mahakal Lok police station and also under the relevant sections of POCSO Act. But police
Condition of this
so
girl,
far have
Hemendra?
not been able to identify the victim. Sorry?
What is the condition of this girl right now?
According to the doctors who are attending on to the victim, they say that her condition remains critical, but she is stable. It's not deteriorating further, neither it's improving, but she's critical. Police have also said that she has not been able to identify herself. She has not been able to tell where she has come from, who her parents are. The only thing that she uttered in the beginning was that her mother too has been subjected to similar trauma. So this remains to be seen. I mean, this still has to be found out
Right.
whether this family had come from outside Madhya Pradesh or was staying in Madhya Pradesh in Ujjain for a longer time. So all these things are being looked into. The Ujjain police have formed a special investigation team into it, and they're trying to get to the bottom of it.
I appreciate you joining us with the latest details. Thank you, Hemendra. Here's also what we're trying to do desperately at that is when hundreds of citizens of Ujjain turn their back on this young child, some of them shooing her away, and it's very evident on CCTV. There were this clutch of sadhus, and one of them in particular who covered this young child in a blanket, took her to a hospital. The police came in, and it's something that should be told, because the policemen who took this young child to the hospital were the ones who donated blood for this young girl, because there was no immediate family, nobody knew where she came from, and not lauded, but at least spoken of, because we are trying very hard to look for that sadhu. We haven't been able to. But, in the sea of what we call inhumanity, there are a few good men and women, and their story must be recorded and told. I want to cut across immediately to Lalita Kumaramanglam, former chairperson, NCW. Ma'am, once again, I want to just, this case is heartbreaking to say the least. A 12-year-old child for 7 hours roams the streets of a city desperately seeking help. Every day, it seems as a collective, we cross another threshold of being inhuman.
I agree. It's sickening that, this is supposed to be Mahakal country, Ujjain, where it's holy land for many people in this country. And in this land, if we have this sort of inhumanity, this sort of terrible human beings, I mean, for want of another word, human beings, where is their humanity? This is not the fault of any politician or any party. I just don't want to politicize this. As a country today, we really should be ashamed that we turned away a 12-year-old child who could well have been, somebody we know, somebody related to us. When you see her literally bleeding alone, begging for help, how can anybody be so inhuman as to turn her away? I'm sure people will say, oh, we were afraid of the police and all that sort of nonsense excuses. But we Indians have become spineless and heartless. It's very easy to always blame the other side, the judges, the police, the everybody, ere as we say, everybody is blamed. We will never take responsibility and never even say sorry. I'm sure any one of those scores of people who turned this poor child away, who committed that sin, and I mean a really horrible sin, one of the darkest sins anybody can commit, will say that, oh, we didn't want to get involved. This whole thing about not wanting to get involved, what is this? They could have called the police if they did not want to get involved. They could have called an ambulance. I'm sure they would have, if it had been one of their own people they knew or loved or whatever, somebody, a teacher, a relative, a friend, whatever, or even a big film star for that matter, somebody whom, they thought they would get publicity from. But otherwise, why don't we even care? This is the depth of patriarchy. If this had been a young boy, I'm willing to, change my name. If everybody had treated that little boy the way they treated this little girl. Even today, this is the acid depths of patriarchy that young girls face over and over and over again. And hats off to that gentleman, the sadhu, who has done this without even asking for credit. God bless him. Hats off also to the policeman who donated blood. There are, as you say, there are good and bad. But in this case, it is not, the people who are in governance, the police, etc., who have been wrong. It is the people, the common man, who is terribly, terribly wrong. And they should really feel ashamed.
You're right there. We were trying to get the policeman as well who donated the blood, practically saving this young child's life. The sadhu, he was on the move, but, God bless him. But, yes. I want to come back. I want to come back with a question, ma'am, because, yes, we can keep talking about that it's about the people. Yes, it is about the people. But, and hopefully I'm going to take you away from party affiliation here. Somewhere down the line, cases like this, Ms. Kumaramangalam, become primarily of your state, your rapes against my state, my rapes.
Yes.
If you put it out there, the map, Madhya Pradesh is number 2 on the crime list where crime against women are concerned. So yes, if we talk about Rajasthan and the crime against women, Madhya Pradesh is really not far. And someone really needs to look at it from that perspective and maybe work towards that.
I agree. That is a different question altogether, which you're talking about. But I agree with and I totally understand the point you're making, that states, especially where abuse against women, not just rape, any form of abuse against women, whether it's dowry, whether it's child marriage, whether it is sexual abuse, whether it is, abuse in the workplace, etc., they need to seriously introspect, regardless of which party may be involved, BJP, Congress, JDU, whatever, in the South, DMK, YSR, whatever, it doesn't make a difference. They need to introspect and they need to really come out with some very, very strict adherence to the law. The problem here also is most people don't know the law and are not afraid of the law. I have relatives who practice in the posh field, and they will tell you that big companies who are willing to take up cases are not able to find people who will come forward to give evidence. The law is based on evidence. And evidence is something that Indians seem to balk. We just don't want to come forward and give evidence. We always want to be the good person. We don't want to come and point the finger at somebody who is actually the criminal. And this is across the board. It has nothing to do with, I think, state or money or education. It's a mindset that we need to get out of. It's one of the things that helps patriarchy, or rather literally, gives it such a big boost, because men know they will get away with it. And but again, as per the data, whichever state has data that shows that it doesn't matter if it's high or low, rape is rape, regardless.
Ma'am, thank you for saying that.
With very, very strictly.
Thank you.
I have said this before openly. When Bill Kismanu's rapists were given bail, I was the only one who said that it's wrong. It doesn't matter. Rape is
thank
rape.
You for saying that. There are very few people who can actually move beyond party affiliation and say that, and thank you for saying that. Appreciate you taking the time out and joining us. Thank you, Ms. Lalita Kumaramangalam, former NCW chairperson. Vikram Singh, Brinda Adigi, I want to bring you in on this conversation. Vikram Singh, whatever it might seem to suggest, but are we now at a place where maybe we should contemplate action against those who turn away from someone who is in desperate help?
Preeti, you said it. There are those who looked away and looked the other way. They did not go and attend to the call of their conscience. This incident is sufficient to bleed anybody's heart at any point of time. But yes, all those onlookers and the silent bystander had a moral and a legal duty to perform, which they failed to do. And therefore, to your point, I would say, yes, a responsibility has to be fixed. Those who are oblivious of such human tragedies, they need to answer. They are living in a country where people pay taxes to ensure an ecosystem of safety, security, and honor. And if they choose to be silent and mute bystanders, to the contrary, in a way, abetting this kind of a crime, there should be consequences for such silent and mute spectators. Indeed, you rightly said that there are so many of us who would rather keep away from going to the police. What does it require, Preeti? Just call a few numbers, the local numbers, the helplines, the 100 numbers, 1090, any number of helplines. But it is a different matter to have a helpline, and it's a different matter to address that helpline. What it requires is just a simple phone call that was about all.
Right.
Nothing more was required. But yes, there should be consequences for those who are silent and mute spectators to this human tragedy.
And I hope somebody's thinking about that. But Brinda Adigi, I want to bring you in on this. Let's go back. ultimately it comes down to one basic line, Brinda Adige, that Jyoti Singh died, unremembered, Nirbhaya for politicians lives on.
Absolutely right, Padmaja. While I agree...
Preeti ma'am.
And sorry, Preeti. My apologies.
No
Preeti,
problem.
while I agree with both the other panelists who spoke up, we need to address the matter at the spot of what is the state administration doing. If you recall, Madhya Pradesh was almost one of the first states to announce, the chief minister announced that any kind of rape or assault on anybody 12 years and below will attract very stringent punishment. Now, to date, we haven't seen what has happened to that kind of a promise that was made by the chief minister, because you mentioned, Preeti, that Madhya Pradesh has the highest number of cases registered on issues of sexual assault and rape. So the state administration has to answer.
Second highest, ma'am. Second highest, not the highest.
Okay, second highest. Why is it that there is no fear of law? Because their numbers keep increasing every year. Why is there no fear of law? Why is it that perpetrators and rapists assume that they will not be caught or they will not be punished appropriately? So the blame lies with the police, the prosecution, and the judiciary, and we must call for a reform, because you and I know that the colonial system of functioning continues where the witness is put to task much more than the perpetrator. And probably that might be one of the reasons where people don't call up the helpline. But that said, our consciousness, our responsibility, our civic responsibility is at stake today. It is scary that a child had to walk 7 kilometers and nobody even made a telephone call, even to call the ambulance. Forget the police.
Right.
People may be afraid of the police, but call the ambulance. That also shows what my state or the state of Ujjain, of Madhya Pradesh and the city of Ujjain is.
You're right
so
there, Mr. Dige, but ultimately
that they don't
today
hold themselves responsible.
Right, but Mr. Dige, but today is also a day where instead of pointing fingers at politicians, instead of pointing fingers at the police, maybe one needs to look into the mirror and be ashamed. It's a day to be ashamed. And one thing I would reckon as we go into this break, that for those who turn this child away, God alone, I hope you never sleep at night. And right in the beginning, like we pointed out, those clutch of men, the few good men there in the sea of inhumanity. What did we see? A sadhu who wrapped this young child in a blanket and took her to the hospital. The police who came there gave her blood for the reason of survival. We leave it at that. Thank you for watching. Up next is Rahul Kamal.
You are watching India Today, powered by Finest, Be Sustainable Change, a B&P Group company.
...2024 will start with fulfillment of a promise that many have waited for decades. The Ayodhya Ram Temple consecration ceremony will take place on January 22nd next year, and the Prime Minister of India will attend Pran Pratishtha ceremony.
प्राण प्रतिष्ठा की जो अंतिम दिन होगी, वह दिन ऐसा चुना जाएगा कि पूजा का कार्यक्रम भी संपन्न हो। पूजा के कार्यक्रम में जो एक तरीके से अंतिम चैप्टर होगा, उस समय वहां प्रधानमंत्री जी भी रहें और आदरणीय प्रधानमंत्री जी सम्मिलित हों। संकेत है कि जो कुछ भी होना है वो 24 जनवरी तक होगा, क्योंकि आदरणीय प्रधानमंत्री जी उसके बाद गणतंत्र दिवस के कार्यक्रमों में व्यस्त हो जाएंगे।
The Shri Ram Janmabhoomi Teerth Kshetra Trust will formally invite Prime Minister Modi for the consecration ceremony. In 10 days long festivities, the idol of Ram Lalla will be installed in the sanctum sanctorum of the temple. The temple trust has decided to start the process of the consecration of Ram Lalla after Makar Sankranti on 14th January.
जो कार्यक्रम है भगवान के लिए, और 22 तारीख को प्रधानमंत्री जी आएंगे, तब उसका आवरण करेंगे कि हाँ, ये रामलला का प्राण प्रतिष्ठा उसी दिन होगी। 15 जनवरी को सूर्य उत्तरायण होंगे और जो शुभ मुहूर्त है वहीं से शुरू होगा।
The construction of the ground floor of the 3-story Ram temple in Ayodhya will be completed by the end of this December. But devotees will have to wait till 24th January, as the Ram temple in Ayodhya is likely to open for devotees only after the consecration of Ram Lalla idol. Bureau Report, India Today.
Weather forecast now. Delhi, maximum 37 and minimum 27 degrees. Mumbai, maximum 30 and minimum 25 degrees. Kolkata, maximum 35 and minimum 26 degrees. Bangalore, maximum 28 and minimum 20 degrees. Chennai, maximum 34 and minimum 26 degrees. Hyderabad, maximum 32 and minimum 23 degrees.
Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices. Amplify your brand with 100 million smart internet viewers. To advertise, mail us at sales@aajtak.com. You are watching India Today, powered by Finest, Be Sustainable Change, a BNP Group company.
On 22nd and 23rd September, ISRO successfully completed the CE-20 E-13 engine hot test for the Gaganyaan qualification and 22-ton thrust qualification. To put in simple words, ISRO was able to test fire the enhanced capacity of its time-tested cryogenic engines. This engine of LVM-3, nicknamed as Bahubali, has already proven its reliability and efficiency in 6 consecutive missions during Chandrayaan-2 and 3 and 2 commercial OneWeb missions.
प्रज्वलन और सफलतापूर्ण उत्थापन LVM-3 रॉकेट का।
But for a successful manned mission, this engine needs to be more powerful. To carry increased payloads from 19 tons to 22 tons, ISRO is upgrading the CE-20 engine. The upper cryogenic stage is being transformed into the C-32 stage with an enhanced propellant loading capacity. And that showed perfect test results at Tamil Nadu's Mahendragiri Test Centre. Developed by the Vellamala Liquid Propulsion System Centre in Kerala, the CE-20 engine operated at 22 tons of thrust for 670 seconds, with both engine and facility meeting performance expectations. By the end of 2024 to the beginning of 2025, ISRO will launch its first manned mission, Gaganyaan.
ISRO's next big project is Gaganyaan, that is to send humans, astronauts of India, to the space, where it is expected that they will stay for 3 to 4 days, and this is the rocket that's going to help them. This is an LVM-3 that is human rated, and that's why we call it as 8LVM-3. This is the same rocket that took Chandrayaan-3 to the moon, and the important aspect here is that on the top there is a modification where you could see nozzle design, and on the top over the national flag, that is a place where there will be a pod. There is an escape system also that is being currently tested, and this is the pod where the astronauts will reside here. This is a setup, and this is how ISRO is gearing up for Gaganyaan project.
The Indian Space Agency has shortlisted 4 candidates to go on this mission. They have already undergone initial training in Russia. Now they are undergoing further training at the newly opened astronaut training facility in Bengaluru. In the next couple of months, ISRO could launch the first high-altitude abort test to validate the crew escape system for Gaganyaan astronaut mission. With Pramod Madhav, Bureau Report, India Today.
You are watching India Today, powered by Finest. Be Sustainable Change, a BNP Group company.
Presented by RP Sanjeev Goenka Group, Growing Legacies.
Co-presented by Century Laminates by Manish Malhotra, fashion for your furniture.
Co-presented by Macho Hind, बड़े आराम से.
Co-powered by PolicyBazaar.com, हर family होगी insured. Co-powered by the bold look of Kohler. UBI, good people to bank with. Kirloskar.
Good evening and welcome. You're watching the news.